Aerilon, Sins of the Peacekeeper unfolds in the expansive metropolis of Valvarus. It's the crown jewel of Aerilon. Some might consider the capital city of the wider Aerilon, and it's often referred to as the oldest city. Valvarus has grown significantly and exponentially over the previous centuries, expanding far beyond its original walled boundaries. Unlike typical Dungeons and Dragons city settings, which often sort of focus on a singular or just a couple of themes, like Waterdeep being a bastion of trade and opportunity, or Candlekeep being, a fortress of scholarly pursuits. Valvarus is a diverse metropolis where one can discover a myriad of experiences, pursuits and creeds across its many districts and boroughs, each almost like a city within the city itself. Due to its immense size, significance, diversity of population, range of industries, Valvarus requires a multifaceted approach to law enforcement and national security. Various law enforcement and military entities work collaboratively, or sometimes in opposition with one another, to maintain order and safety for the city and its millions of inhabitants. The members of our party each come from one of these peacekeeping organisations, each forcibly reassigned, shall we say, from their original roles to a clandestine division that prioritises autonomy and plausible deniability in their pursuit of justice and Valvarian security. When I first came to the group with Aerilon, Sins of the Peacekeeper, one of the main things I wanted to get across was that I wanted them to start out, at least, with characters who are deeply flawed. They're in this position for a reason, and I don't think anyone's quite taken that idea and run with it quite as much as Dan has with Artorias.
So you want to know who Artorias is? Well, it's easy, really. He is the strong but silent type. He is a man of honour, but he is deeply flawed. I'm being given the opportunity to be a player again for a long-term campaign, and it's given me the opportunity to explore some very human elements and very human flaws, and that will come to the surface through Artorias.
When approaching a paladin character, it can be very easy to sort of fall into one of two lanes, be it the hero of justice or the scorned, oathbreaker type out for revenge, whereas Artorias has some elements of both of those, but he is also fighting a much more personal war, aside from the spiritual side of his character.
He is a man of action, but will not act unless there is due cause. He's all about justice, really, as well. Like, he wants to ensure that people are treated fairly, people are treated right, but if you're a wrong'un, he'll put the sword to you, without a second thought.
Yeah, what can be said about Jax? I don't want to give too many spoilers away. He's not so much standoffish, more kind of reserved. He's not going to be the first person in the room to say something, but he's also not afraid to speak up for what he believes in. Well, his values are super important. He is a single father of 2 cats living in the Grand Market. He's got a bit of a grungy little apartment with kind of tinkering tables around various pulleys and mechanisms that break so frequently. Think Rodney from Robots in terms of loving to tinker, but things explode a lot.
There's another aspect to his character, which is that of legacy. He comes from a family who have served Valvarus for generations.
Yeah, I feel like that might come up.
But he has been kind of thrust into the realization that society does come with a very, very human cost.
I think if he were to have a motto, it would probably leech on the back of the War Divers motto as they descend from the skies into battle, of down to death.
So the War Divers are what you might consider the Spec Ops branch of the Valvarian March.
But for him, it's down to death of the system. Anarchy, baby!
Marcus, I would describe as more than meets the eye. Marcus is not to be underestimated.
Marcus is a really interesting one because, he is a very capable person, both on the battlefield and in his investigations.
He might be built like, the stereotypical jock, but he is definitely more clever than you think. That sort of brings up the question, what came first, the brains or the brawn?
He's less trying to redeem himself for past mistakes and more trying to navigate his way through the consequences of decisions he made, which at the time seemed like good decisions to make.
Is his reason for being there his fault? That's debatable, maybe.
But actually have much farther reaching consequences both for himself and the people around him and the city of Valvarus than he may have initially realised.
Marcus has a few skeletons in his closet. Usually you go in and you're like, okay, I'm an adventurer. This time around, I have no idea. And that's gonna be insane and it's scary, but it's also really, really exciting.
Tell you about Lumiere? Well, she loves to be overestimated, and not in the way you might think. So she can be in a room where conversations are happening, where people don't think she really knows what's going on, but she is taking it all in.
Lumiere is definitely going to be the wild card in the party, as Natalie often tends to do.
She's great with details, and she has a long memory. So if you say something or do something that doesn't sit right with her, you can bet your ass that she knows exactly what you said.
They are certainly in this position by their own doing. There is very little manipulation from bureaucrats and higher forces that have gotten Lumiere to where she is. She's a bit of a mischief maker.
More forgive rather than forget. She loves to give people nicknames. She is very friendly and outgoing and personable. She can actually put up with a lot of gruffness before it would bother her. She also knows when to step back.
It's going to be really, really fun to see Lumiere kind of deal with some of the more stoic members of the party and how that is going to clash slightly maybe, but it's going to be an interesting ride for sure.
So I don't know how that's going to fit with the party. We have some interesting names going on so far. She's very aware of her surroundings, so she can fit into most situations comfortably.
Who is Artemis J. Stringfield? He is a character that fundamentally struggles to find a place in the world that seems to struggle to find a place for him.
Artemis is a bit of an enigma. He's figuring some stuff out, both about himself and about the world and its nature, of the nature of being and personality and all these different aspects that make people who they are.
He is different on a number of levels. He has a power that very few others have and could open the world up to him in so many different ways if he really put his mind to it, but he refuses to because he knows the more he does that, the more he will drive away the people he wants to help, wants to be around. He, on a deep level, wants to be accepted, wants to find friends and a place for himself in the world and to help and to be helpful and do good in whatever way he can. He is full of idiosyncrasies, he is strange, he is a wild intellect and a huge imagination. The two often combine to create all kinds of theories and conspiracies.
I sort of see Artemis almost like the sort of Fox Mulder allegory. He's very much in tune with the other side and constantly curious about what else is out there beyond the veil and beyond what the mind allows us to see.
It's going to be interesting and it's going to be fun to be probably the strangest character in a group of very serious, very hardened detectives by the sounds of it, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I like to be strange.